The first wide receiver to win a Heisman Trophy, first DISD player to be elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He finally got the call, and tonight he's here to talk about it. Soon to be Hall of Famer Tim Brown tonight on Sports Sunday. I'm Mike Ducey. Great to have Tim with us. You waited and waited and waited for this call, and finally it came. In what form did it come? How'd you find out? And what was it like to learn that you've been elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
You know, it's a gut-wrenching process, man. It really is. And even going through it, knowing that you are thinking you're going to get in, or even when you find out that you're going to get in, you still don't know exactly what's happening. So, you know, for me, it was pretty tough, man, because, you know, waiting, 6 years, and when I got an emoji from my presenter. He sent me a happy face emoji. So, and then he tells me, but that doesn't mean you're in because they still have to do an 80% vote. So I was like, dude, what? What are you doing? So he told me to wait, and there should be a call that comes to the room. And, of course, I'm checking the phone and doing all that kind of stuff. But I wasn't expecting a knock at the door. But knock at the door came, and I just happened to be the one close to the door. And I opened the door, and there stood Big Dave Baker, 6'5", all 350 pounds of him. And, at that particular moment, I knew things were changing.
And you find out just, of course, Super Bowl weekend that you will be inducted in August into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Why do you think it took so long? I guess that doesn't matter now, but and how frustrating was it to wait this long?
Well, I think when you look at the receiver position, you had Jerry to come out the same year I came out. Then you had Chris Carter, Andre Reed, and myself. And the problem is I play West Coast, Andre's on the East Coast, and Chris Carter's in the middle. So we were literally splitting the country up. So I think from that standpoint, it just became a very difficult process for the voters. And I told my presenter, look, if the room is going for Andre, go for Andre. If they're going for Chris, go for Chris. But we got to break this tie. We got to get these guys. We got to get one guy in so we can start moving. And finally, a couple of years ago, it started to happen. So I was hoping that this year would be my year because with Marvin and Randy and T.O. and everybody coming up, it could become a real long process if I didn't get in this year.
Who will introduce you at the Hall?
It's going to be my brother. Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, he's the one that got me going with football when I was 7, 8, 9 years old. Used to take me out and teach me how to throw. I think it was more of a torture session than it was a teaching session. But, he's the reason. His passion for the game became my passion for the game. And I just think he's the right person to get it done.
Tim Brown, Woodrow Wilson High School in Dallas, Heisman winner at Notre Dame, 16 years with the Raiders. You're the first DISD player to be elected into the Hall of Fame. How meaningful is that for you?
That's big. When I first came out in 2010, when I was first up, someone mentioned that to me, and I guess over the years I sort of forgot about it because you just didn't want to think about getting in because of everything that was happening. But when Rebecca, one of my wife's friends, texted me that last week right before, I started to think about it again, how big that would be, how significant that would be for Dallas. So it's a great honor, no doubt about it. All the great players who have played here in Dallas, I'm certainly happy to represent them, that's for sure.
Sixth on the all-time receiving yardage list, even now, after all these years. And you never really played with a truly elite quarterback. Gannon won the MVP one year, but you ever wonder what might have been if you had an Aikman or a Montana on the other end of those passes throughout your career?
I try not to. I really do. Jeff George was probably the best purest passer I had. And that year I caught 104 balls and 1,400 yards. And I think we could have had several years like that if we'd had different quarterbacks. But, I think that sort of adds to the mystique of what I did also, being able to put up numbers with, quarterbacks who are not going to be in the Hall of Fame. So I'm happy to have played with the guys I played with and have great relationships with all of them.
Of course, you go from Woodrow and then to Notre Dame and that storied program. You thought about other schools, including SMU. Why did you decide to go to Notre Dame instead of staying home?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. My heart was at SMU, no doubt about it. Being a Dallas boy and, after Texas did what they did, I was really upset with them. I wanted to stay home and go to SMU, but because of everything that was going on there, potentially at that time, my parents thought it was best that I go to Notre Dame, go to a place that was all about the academics and I would get a great education and wouldn't have to worry about all the things that were going on in Texas at that particular time. So with illegal recruiting and all that kind of stuff that was happening. So, so for me, it was a tough decision. It really was because I wanted to stay home and I wanted to go to SMU, great academic school. But it turned out maybe I made the right decision by going up to Notre Dame. But, my heart has always been, a little piece of me has always been at SMU for sure.
Let's talk about some NFL issues now with Tim Brown, just elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Tom Brady taking a lot of heat for Deflategate. Your fellow future Hall of Famer Charles Haley said that he thinks less of Brady now, doesn't have as much respect for him because of his possible role in this whole scandal. What do you come down on?
Well, certainly if it comes out, then I think the NFL is going to come up with some resolution here in the next week or two that he did deflate the balls. You're going to have to, put a little asterisk by his name, no doubt about it, because you don't know how many games that's been going on. It got called out in the Indianapolis game, but was it going on all year? I mean, was it a problem, in the playoffs for them the last couple of years? Because they've had problems dropping balls in the playoffs, and maybe that's because, people are paying close attention to the ball. Who knows? But I think if it comes out that he has been doing it or he did do it in that particular situation, I think everybody's going to look at him differently. But I don't know if it matters to him. He has his third, fourth Super Bowl ring at this particular point, so I think that's all that matters to him.
Of course, you come from a franchise with a heritage. Fred Biletnikoff's slathering.
It
wasn't really necessarily illegal at the time. So obviously, to some degree, guys have tried to get an advantage throughout the history of this league and will continue to.
Yeah, look, I was telling somebody today that, I used to tape my fingers up, right? And I came up with a bright idea one time. Hey, reverse the tape. Put the sticky side on the outside, and you ought to catch everything. And certainly when I went out to warm up, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. But when I got in the game, what I realized is, you catch the ball, but I couldn't put it away. So I was running with the it was like stuck to me. So I had to go to the sideline. It lasted about one series, and I had to go to the sideline and reverse the tape back to the right way. So cheating didn't work for me. But yeah, man, in this game, man, a lot of things are going to happen. I think things that happen in between the plays, Mike, when you say hut, whatever goes on then, I think is if you can get away with tugging somebody's jersey or anything like that, that's cool. But when you premeditate your cheating, I think that's a totally different deal.
Tim Brown played for the Raiders for 16 seasons and in one Super Bowl, Super Bowl 37. You made headlines, I guess it's been a couple of years ago now, with your comments about Bill Callahan, who then, of course, was the Cowboys' offensive line coach and was their offensive coordinator. Now he's gone on to Washington, where you actually used the word sabotage in describing his preparation of your Oakland team for that Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. You ever regret using that word, or you stand by that?
Well, I am a man that when I speak, I usually know what I'm talking about. I usually speak from, my point of view or whatever. So, it may have been too strong of a word for some people to take, but, at the same time, what happened in that game happened. What happened in that week of preparation happened. And, it may be, to me, it may be sabotage. To them, it may be just bad planning. But at the same time, what happened has never happened in my 27 years of playing football. At J.L. Long Middle School here in Dallas, at Woodrow Wilson here at Notre Dame, or my 16 years with the Raiders of 1 year with Tampa, never did what happened 2 days before the Super Bowl ever happened before. So, it was, and there's a lot more to the story that I haven't told. And
when you say 2 days, bro, you mean referencing the changes that were made in the game plan?
Yeah. And a lot of things that happened, and all this came out because of Barrett Robbins. Obviously he's going through a horrific time, being shot by the police and insane asylum. He's been really going through it. But I think people were saying they were blaming him for what happened. And there was just more to the story. And I've been telling the story since I retired. And it was amazing that 2-3 years ago it blew up the way it did. But look, Callahan knows this, that he knows that I was his best friend in the locker room. And if not for me, it would have been a lot rougher situation for him with the Raiders. So he knows that if I wanted to try and take him out or take him down, there are a lot of things I could have said. But it's not about that. It was about the team. It was about Barrett Robbins. And that was the only reason the story came out.
And Callahan's in Washington as an offensive line coach now, and you think that's the best place for him? Not necessarily Washington, but as an offensive line coach and nothing more.
I've said, he's the best X and O coach that I've been around. In my 17 years, the guy was incredible in being able to, in the middle of a game, put something together and make it work. It's just so. And I said this about Mark Trestman, that when he took that job, he's not a head coach. Not everybody's meant to be a head coach. You're a great offensive coordinator. Do what you do, and that's the same thing with Bill Callahan. He can do this until he's done with football.
Tim Brown, our guest again, just elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Will be inducted this summer in Canton, Ohio. Kind of the state of the league now with Commissioner Roger Goodell. He's under fire, inconsistent penalties on domestic violence and other things that he's being criticized for. Do you think he should be replaced as commissioner?
No. I mean, look, the fact of the matter is I spent my 17 years in the NFL. In my second year, I was forced to be on NFL players rep. Forced to. Howard Long literally came in the room and said, they're not going to get rid of you because at that time, if you were NFL players rep, you would get cut or traded or something. They're not going to cut you. They're not going to trade you. So you're going to be the rep. And I ended up being a rep, throughout the rest of my career, and 2 years after I retired, and I was on the executive committee. So I worked very closely with Paul Tagliabue. We were in meetings with them all the time, with Gene Upshaw and the crew, and then when Goodell took over, same thing there. And the fact of the matter is, Goodell's job is to take care of the owners, and to make sure that they're happy, make sure they're making money, make sure they're doing those things. This is totally out of his element. This is not the thing that he wants to do, is deal with player issues. And when he's forced in this position, is not something that comes natural, and that's why you're seeing all these mistakes being made. Yes, they have a player development program, and they have all these programs, but all these things really should be coming from the NFLPA. And you really hadn't heard much from the NFLPA on these situations. These are the type of issues that DeMaurice Smith should be dealing with. And, not that he can suspend a guy or anything of that nature, but the players should be listening to him because he is the one that they spend most of their time with. The players, we never spent time with Paul Tagliabue as far as hanging out, having a good time, just playing golf. Goodell, that never happened.
Because we all know how much fun Paul Tagliabue could be.
Yeah, that would have been a lot of fun. But Gene Upshaw and I, we play golf every day over in Hawaii when we had our meetings. So the fact of the relationship is with NFLPA and not with Goodell and the league. So I think it's a tough job for Goodell to try to deal with this.
Got to close with a Cowboy question for a Dallas guy here. Cowboys finally had a breakthrough season under Jason Garrett at 12-4. Now the big off-season decision for Jerry Jones and company. Do you keep Dez long-term? Do you keep DeMarco long-term? I'm asking a wide receiver this question. And if you can only keep one, who is it?
Well, if they're going to continue to run the ball the way they're going to run the ball, you may want to think about keeping DeMarco around because I think he's young enough that you can get 2, 3, 4 more good years out of him. But if you want to throw the ball 40 times a game, you have one of the best receivers in the league, and Dez Bryant, who's only going to get better because the kid is so raw right now. I mean, what he's doing on the football field is raw talent. It's not because he is, outthinking anybody. He is just a much better athlete than guys he's playing against at this particular point. But this is a really tough call, I mean, with what the Cowboys did last year, it was all about DeMarco Murray setting up everything. But I can't see them allowing Dez Bryant to walk out of here. That would just be too big of a cog to try and replace.
Tim Brown, congratulations on finally being elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I know we still hear you on the radio on Sirius XM, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it.
All right,
Thanks.
appreciate it.